Hello everybody, I'm Adrian and welcome to Motor City Musings. Today we're going to talk about an event here in Michigan that I've wanted to attend ever since it restarted, the Empire Hillclimb. So we're going to talk a little bit about what a hill climb is, what the history of hill climbing is, what the history of the Empire Hillclimb is, then we'll talk a little bit about why I'm interested in hill climbing, then look at some of the cars and people involved. So, what is a hill climb? Well, quite simply, it is a time trial event where cars, or motorbikes in some cases, race a fixed course one at a time against the clock, and specifically, as the name suggests, up a hill. Hill climbs are one of the oldest forms of motorsport. The first motor race was the Paris-Rouen in 1894. The first motor race in the United States was Thanksgiving 1895, put on by the Chicago Times-Herald. And the first hill climb was in La Tourbière, France in 1897. And finally, the first in the US was the Mount Washington climb to the clouds in 1904. Other things like the Indy 500, Pikes Peak, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, etc. all came later. In the late 60s, my parents were competing in sprints and hill climbs in their road-going MG. As you can see, I was pretty much born into hill climbing. So inevitably, I got the bug as well, and once I was through university, had a job and a little bit of money, I started competing. My first event was at Harewood in early 1994. I only managed to do a handful of events before moving here in August of 1994, but that's another story. So on to this event here in Empire. Well, I think I've mentioned a couple of times that it restarted in 2014. The history actually goes back to 1964. Now, I did have a lovely on-camera chat with Paul Skinner, one of the organisers here of the event, but unfortunately due to my inexperience, I screwed up the audio, so all you would have seen is a couple of middle-aged guys stood on some steps with their mouths opening and closing like goldfish. So better luck next time from me, and I will try and remember what he said. So fundamentally, the event did start back in 1964. I believe it used to run twice a year and it ran through 1980. Now in 1980 it closed down. I believe that was a combination of safety concerns, rising insurance costs, and, to be fair, simply burnout on behalf of the organisers. So, over 30 years later, Paul and a group of other local enthusiasts decided to resurrect the event. They were successful, and it restarted in 2014 and has run ever since. One of the great things about hill climbing is the variety of cars you get. At one extreme, there are purpose-built competition cars. This is an old Ganassi car that we used to run in Xfinity series. Here we've got a Caterham 7. I did talk to this guy. He bought the car already in the country, but did a lot of work rebuilding it. Then we get things like this. Hey, so we've got Adam here with his TA2 Camaro who's competing. Not actually set up for any specific categories, but he's got it as a fun car. Can you tell us a couple of things about it? Who made it? What it's all about?
It's a Howe chassis TA2 car. So there's a company named Howe in Michigan that makes these chassis for Trans Am TA2 race series. I bought it from the shop. I bought it new from Howe.
You bought it complete, or is there all in chassis and built it up?
Chassis when I bought it.
Yeah.
Bought the body for it, and I've been slowly putting it together. Changed ownership a couple of times, but I've slowly put it together over the last probably 8 years. It's been a while. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
Time, yeah.
And this is your first official timed event with it?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It's very raw.
Yeah?
It's probably a little too rigid for this type of event, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, keep having fun. It'll look good, sounded good. Have a good time. Also, you've got things like this Legends car. Legends vehicles are built for circle track racing initially, but they are also autocross, road raced, and obviously hill climbed. Other than the outstanding purpose-built cars, there are a lot of wonderful home-built creations.
So hey, this is Brian with his RX-7. It's what, turbocharged LS1?
LT.
LT. Oh, going old school.
Yeah, Series 2. Oh, still like a small block 350 with a couple different things.
So it's nearly as old as the chassis. Age appropriate.
Yeah, it's the same generation.
Yeah.
You built a car in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, some turbo on it on the
How long have you had this and been building it?
I think since about 11 years.
Excellent. Well, have fun. It looks and sounds great out there, man. Cheers. Have a good one.
Here's a car that's got quite a bit of press in the last few years, the Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith of Darko Stojanovski that was originally built for Lemons Racing. I had a quick chat with him, and here it is. So, we're here with Darko now, and his, what year is this?
The 1977?
1977 Rolls-Royce. And like a lot of people, he's chosen a British car. British cars are popular for motorsport, being small, light, simple, etc. So,
Easy to work on,
absolutely.
well and reliable.
Yeah. So given all those things, committed sacrilege by pulling it out, the engine out, and putting a truck motor in, I understand.
This is true. This car specifically was something fun to do to try to see what was the most unraced car we could think of and turn it into a race car just for a fun thing. And part of that was trying to imagine what is one of the worst cars you could ever race that was ever created. And this was pretty much that. So the most opposite of something that's designed to go fast, or be light, or be nimble, or be reliable. And with this, the car, once we got it, it ended up being wildly different because the items in the car were so far off anything that resembled anything that could go fast. We basically had to start over from scratch and redo everything.
Yeah, I was looking. I can see you got circle track suspension bits at the front. What about the rear?
So, same thing. We tried to keep as much of the car as we could, but with so much of the car being the way it was, we basically had to strip off all the mechanical pieces and restart over with a lot of custom work and custom fabrication. And really the only thing left in the car that's original Rolls-Royce is more or less some of the body panels and some of the structure, but everything else had to be changed to get it to function. The rear suspension, for example, was, I think, weighted at 600 or 700 pounds, and that's just the subframe, the knuckles. All of the brake work had this weird high-pressure hydraulic system that had a pump that worked off the camshaft that powered 8 brake calipers. Well, you had 4 calipers for high pressure that ran off the crank or camshaft of the engine, and then you have 4 more calipers that run off of a traditional style braking system that were there just so it felt like normal brakes, I suppose. And then all the suspension had that hydraulic crazy stuff. And yeah, so it just ended up being everything had to come out, and that's what it was.
No, it's a car that attracts attention in the best way possible.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that we picked this car is because it is a fun car to have out there because it is so wild and bizarre and not meant to go fast. So we do have a big, heavy car like this that is competitive and does run well. It really becomes kind of like an underdog that people really love because it's not supposed to go fast, but it does well.
All right, well, it looks like they're getting ready to go.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Crowd favourite. Look to be having fun. Thanks a lot, Darko.
Another crowd favourite was this Lada. Now, don't let its appearance fool you. It is actually a pretty cool car. For those that don't know, they are fundamentally licensed-built versions of the Fiat 124 that Russia started making in 1970 and carried on relatively unchanged for about another 2 decades. This particular car, I believe, was sold originally in Canada, and then it was eventually brought into the US a few years ago and built into a Lemons car. The suspension is Subaru BRZ front and rear, fully tied into the cage, and it's actually quite a nice car. As you can see, there was a whole range of other vehicles there, not just the race cars, but things like Paul Skinner's Tribute Mark II Escort rally car and this RS200 replica. Other than associated with the event, there were spectator cars as well, including this old TVR. There were a whole variety of other cars there, from Minis to Trans Ams to Mustangs, a fair number of Subarus and other rally cars, some drift cars, etc. All in all, it was a great day, but I just want to have a quick look at 2 more vehicles before wrapping up. As we discussed earlier, one of the things I really like about hill climbs is the relatively low bar to entry. There are a fair number of cars which are relatively stock street cars, and there's a couple I just want to look at because I think they encompass really what the grassroots part of this is about.
We're here with Caden and his 91 EF Civic hatch. I love cars like this for events like this. Relatively standard car, some lightweight, a rear cage. Can you just tell us a bit about it, how long you've had it, and what your experience is?
So we just recently actually bought it.
Yep.
It was actually from a family friend. It was kind of his dream car. He built it with his racing mentor over the past couple decades in the 90s and early 2000s. So this car is really a time capsule. We haven't really done much at all to it, aside from get it SCCA qualifying.
Yeah. So did you have the cage? So what did you have to do to make it SCCA legal to bring to an event like this?
Right. So there were just a couple of safety things. Like we have currently that Sparco seat with the 6-point harness.
Yep.
And on the passenger side, you can see it's the OEM seats with 4-point harnesses. So we had to fit something that would fit for driver's seat because you have to have 6-point harnesses for SCCA regulations and things like that. And then yes, we actually last night, our roll cage did not pass tech inspection, but we were able to fab something up with a fabrication shop and cedar.
Oh, okay.
These 2 posts, you see where the work was done last night. These 2 posts right here to add some structural support.
Okay, that's cool.
The whole problem with this cage was that these were considered dead posts, so if there were to be wood on the top, this would just kind of cave in. So those support beams make it so now we'll pass tech inspection. There's a couple other things like obviously the racing gear and then arm harnesses and things like that. But for the most part, we haven't really done much at all with this car. We had to change the tires and we had to raise the suspension a little bit to make sure that it wouldn't rub. It still rubs, but so it's really a time capsule. There's a lot of things on this car that I still find out, owning it every day. I'm like, wow, look at that. And,
Is the car older than you?
Yes.
That's depressing. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 18.
18. Cool. So you're getting your first start. That's wonderful.
Yeah, this is my first race. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this is my father's RSX.
Okay.
We built that. I built that with him from pretty much ages 14 to 18. And he's been racing 2 years now. This is his third, and it's my first.
Well, Caden, thank you for your time. It looks a blast. I'll be looking for you on the hill.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good luck. Enjoy yourself.
Nice to meet you.
Catch you later.
Thank you.
Thank you. 1964 Morgan Plus 4. And let's have a look. That is not your standard Triumph engine, sir.
Well, it's the standard engine. It just has a little bit different carburation system.
Wow, is that you've actually got Morgan on the blower? Was that some kind of an option? I didn't know Morgan ever did blowers.
I asked other Morgan owners, did you not get that option? But it was not an option. I did it myself.
So you just you attach that on there. That's pretty cool.
It's good. It's on a Morgan now, so it's a Morgan blower. Right?
How long you had the car?
About 22 years.
Excellent. And you've been tinkering with it all the time.
Of course.
Is this the only event, or do you do track days and things?
And I'm a rookie doing this, but.
Okay. So it's the end of the day here in Empire. Had a great time watching the cars, talking to people, and hill climbing is just such a fun sport. It's so accessible. You need the safety gear, fire suit, helmet, at least a roll cage, race seats and harnesses, but that's basically it. You can even get a license just for the weekend from the SCCA, so you don't have to go to a racing school or anything. You can come here, you can have fun. You can use your own car, you can go home. So what do you think, guys? Next year, do you want to see me here?
Well, everybody, that was my day in Empire, and thank you very much for joining me, Adrian, at Motor City Musings visiting the Empire Hillclimb. There should be links below to both the Empire site and the SCCA rule site, and I will be back in
I do plan
days.
on doing more videos in the future. My next video will be a sort of introduction to the channel and who I am, but I wanted to get this out first before it was too long after the event. So please like and subscribe and leave any